Welcome back to Unmask Your Mind. I'm your host, Annie Sousa. In our last episode, we explored what masking is and why it happens. Today, we're going to be diving into the toll that masking can take on our mental and physical health. Masking comes at a very high cost, and in this episode, we'll discuss signs of burnout, the long-term effects, and ways to recognize when masking is taking a toll. Masking takes a significant emotional toll because that constantly hiding those parts of ourselves, that's what leads to those feelings of isolation and disconnection. So imagine spending every day acting out a version of yourself that isn't fully you. Over time, this can lead to anxiety, depression, and low self-worth. For many, masking can feel like living a double life. One face for the public and one face at home. And this creates an inner conflict where that authentic self feels hidden and misunderstood. It can feel exhausting to constantly be navigating these two selves, right? Especially when it feels like people truly don't know you or understand you. So I'm going to give you an example. When you feel that few people are understanding you, how do you feel? Do you feel alone? Do you feel heard? I gotta say, growing up, it felt very lonely for me. And I don't know how many of you can hear this story and feel like, that resonates with me. But growing up, I can tell you, I think until recently, as I started my unmasking journey, this is when I started realizing who I was. And I'm still going through it because I feel that unmasking is something that you still do. But growing up, I didn't know where the mask ended and where I started. And it felt so lonely. I felt so disconnected because it was so exhausting trying to be this person that I felt everybody wanted. And mind you, this is where it gets tricky, you guys. And tell me who of you feel that this resonates with. It gets tricky because we are hearing every single day of our lives how being our true selves is too loud, too much, or annoying. So what else do? Well, we have to hide ourselves. And this is why we feel so misunderstood and why we have all of these inner conflicts. So what do? We start slowly changing who we are. As little kids, we are authentically ourselves, but that's when we start listening. Be quiet. No, you can't say that. To those of us that are blurting out what we're thinking, right? No, you're too being loud. And slowly we start making that shift from who we are authentically to this new facade, this new persona, this new character. And what happens? The moment that we start seeing people's reactions, that's the ultimate distorted validation. Because it's distorted, if you think about it, it's not real because we're not being our true selves. But we're feeling confirmed. We're getting a confirmation. We're being liked. We are receiving that they actually, look at that. I belong. I'm being invited to parties. I'm not being too loud now. I'm being popular. They like me. I'm getting good grades. Whatever. Well, I wasn't getting good grades, but whatever it was, now you feel that you got it. So it does feel like very few people truly know or understand you. So for those listening out there, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt like you're living two lives? One that you show the world and one that it's actually truly who you are. Think about it. How is it that behavior, that thing actually affects your mental and emotional well-being? The whole thing of behaving and putting two shows, if you will. Think about how it affects your mental and emotional well-being. The stress of masking can also have physical effects. And this is the one thing that people don't realize. Everybody keeps focusing about the mental and emotional well-being, and we need to focus on that because everything's going to get tied together in a nice little distorted bow. But nevertheless, it does have physical effects as well because we're all connected. Everything is connected in our bodies. So Chronic stress impacts our bodies in ways that we may not realize. And this leads to headaches, muscle tension, digestive issues. Oh my goodness, guys, I would be a billionaire if I charged a penny, 5 cents to anyone that could tell me how many digestive issues did I have growing up. And even cardiovascular problems. When we mask, we often ignore our natural cues because we're pushing through that exhaustion, and that's leading to that physical burnout. So, for instance, how many of you this is going to resonate with? How many of you are in a social setting, you're tired, you don't want to be there, you want to be home, quiet, in that comfy, non-stimulating environment. But hey, you can't do that. No. Because if you do that, it's not socially acceptable, right? And you're the weirdo, or you feel that you're not doing what is what society expects. So you push yourself through it. So you're digging inside, you're completely burying what your natural cues are, and you're going to a loud place with a lot of lights, whatever the case may be. So you're pushing through that exhaustion. And eventually, if you're doing it often, that's what leads to that burnout. So imagine if you're a parent and you have a teen that is going through all of this. You have a kid that is going to school. Parents, if you're out there listening to me, please pay attention to the following. This is real. That physical burnout in teens, in kids, elementary school kids, students. Think about it. They walk through the doors. The moment they walk through the doors, this starts. The digestive issues. How many of you parents have teens that are always saying they have belly aches? How many of you are saying that they have headaches? How many get sick all the time? Those are cues that you have to pay attention to. Think about it. They have to go to school. Bell ring, the stress of the schoolwork. If they're neurodivergent and they're dealing with problems focusing, dyslexia that they don't have diagnosed, whatever the case may be, those are stressors. Those are sensory things that are already overwhelming them. If they're dealing with peer issues that they don't tell you about because they're embarrassed, that's already overwhelming them. The noises, parents, teens in school and kiddos in school, believe it or not, they're sitting at a desk, and I was one of them. And you're sitting at the desk and you're hearing, where do I have a pencil? Here, this noise. You guys, how many of you hated this growing up? So, God, to this day, it drives me crazy. The little pencil tap or the pen. Come on, those noises are very disturbing. They're disrupting for people like us. Not only that, when you have a student or a friend that is either copying off you or talking to another person, or there's disruption amongst your peers, and you have social anxiety or you have anxiety, and mind you, all of this is if you're not diagnosed. But if you're diagnosed as well, you have to deal with this. And you're anxious about who's going to explode and the implications that's going to have on you. Guys, believe it or not, your teens are going through all of this. And maybe they don't tell you, not because they don't trust you, not because you're a bad parent, because they have no idea how to verbalize it. So then they get home. How was your day? Okay. And they walk away. But by the time they get home, you want to go out on a hike, or you want to go on a play date, or you want to go out to eat something, and you see your teen or your kid and they just want to stay home. And you're like, but what's going on? You never want to go out. And the cycle of shame begins, not because you're a bad parent, but that's just what it happens. But your kid is not being a bad kid. Your teen is not being, it's just that they are going through burnout because they're experiencing a lot in the classroom. So it is important to understand that the body doesn't separate mental and physical stress. So masking-induced stress can trigger a physical response, often in the form of muscle aches, fatigue, and even, like I said, digestive discomfort. Our bodies are telling us to just slow down. But because we're maybe too wrapped up in maintaining a facade to notice, this is why it happens. Imagine us adults doing that. Imagine a teen, imagine a 9-year-old kid. They're not even going to be, not that they're not verbal enough, but they might not know the language to put to the feeling. Even the most advanced, emotionally advanced 9-year-old, it's going to be hard to put the name to the feeling, right? So think about your own experiences. How does masking affect your body? You can pause the podcast so that you can do this reflection. Do you notice any physical symptoms that come alongside the mental strain? Think about it. Are you a person that You're like, I'm always fatigued. When I stand up, I feel dizzy. When I'm this, write down your observations. You can even share them with us in the comments on our social media. We'd love to hear from you. You can find me at unmask.your.mind on social media, or even on our website at unmaskyourmind.com. Feel free to share with us, and if you want to join us on our podcast, feel free to let me know at annie@unmaskyourmind.com. Let us know your own experience. When you realize what your physical symptoms are, and you start journaling and you have those observations, you can start looking at patterns. And I encourage you, if you do see those patterns, take them to your doctor, take them to your therapist, start making some observations with them. I encourage you to talk to your therapist to see what plan can you come up with. You can come up with a plan with them and they can help you. It comes a long way, because burnout is a common experience for neurodivergent individuals who mask frequently. It is more common than you think. Signs of burnout include emotional exhaustion. That means feeling detached. Have you ever been, you've ever witnessed someone or yourself being so numb, like you just want to sit down on a couch or sit down, just sit down. And you have a lot of things to do, but it's so overwhelming and you're so burned out that you just sit down and you cannot even think about doing anything else. You're just emotionally exhausted. You're feeling detached. You're lacking that motivation. You have that sense of being overwhelmed. If you find yourself dreading social interactions, this is another example. If you find yourself dreading social interactions or struggling to keep up the facade, guys, it is time. This is maybe a sign of masking fatigue. I'm going to give you an example. 9-year-old kid, masking constantly, ASD, ADHD, masking constantly, and just the thought of going to another day of school starts crying because it's too much. It's too much, starts crying. But what's going on? Kid is on medication, treatment, therapy, the whole nine. But the thought of having to mask and starts crying, tears pouring down her face. And as the kid is trying to convey the feelings because it's hard, she lands on the following statement. That whenever I do certain things, my friends get upset, but when they do it, it's okay. And she's trying to navigate the whole peer dynamic. But at the bottom of it, it's that when she tries to not do certain things to make her friends happy, everybody is okay, but it's just doing. And when I ask, so what happens? She said, it's just too much. By the end of the day, I'm exhausted. She herself, a 9-year-old, came to that conclusion that she's exhausted. And of course, we went through it. We talked about it. My point is, this is an example of an elementary age student being exhausted. Try to imagine a situation like that at a bigger scale if you have a teen, at a bigger scale if this is happening to you. Because burnout doesn't mean just feeling tired. It's a deep sense of depletion, where even small interactions feel overwhelming, like this example of the 9-year-old. It's a reminder that your body and mind need a break from masking. It's an example like, in this case, after talking and navigating it, this little girl needed a break. Needed an adjustment in her medication, needed an adjustment in therapy, needed a break. We needed to navigate other things that she was navigating at school. So it's just recognizing these signs early on to help you make the adjustments before the burnout becomes unmanageable. There are things that you can do. Have you ever felt emotionally drained by the effort of just simply fitting in? Just simply fitting in. Imagine that. Think about the signs of burnout you have experienced. Think about that. Feel free to comment on our latest Instagram post. You might just help someone else to recognize their own signs of burnout. And again, just being able to share your experience and normalizing is this movement that we're trying to make, and be able to normalize this, right? Be able to help each other out. It is essential to find ways to give yourself breaks from masking. Let's go over a few strategies to help manage masking fatigue and give your body and mind a chance to recharge. So, for example, create moments of rest. Whenever possible, find a small window through the day, throughout your day, where you can just drop the facade. This might be during a break at work or on a walk alone. Give yourself permission to just be you, your amazing, beautiful self, without any pressure. And I want to come back to this one in a second with something I want to say. But give yourself permission to be you without any pressure. Number 2, set boundaries where you can. If you can, try to limit the time you spend in high masking situations. Like, it's okay to say no to certain events. It's okay if you take a break from social situations. Like, I understand that you have to be masking for certain things. I understand that you have to attend social situations, but if it's not vital or imperative, work-related, or something that is of dire need, it's okay to say no to certain events and just take a break. Guys, practice grounding exercises. Grounding exercises like deep breathing or focusing on a comforting object. This can help, and they can be helpful when you're feeling overwhelmed. These moments of calm can help you reset, even in the middle of a busy day. Tune into your body's signal. Start listening to what your body is telling you. If you're really feeling that fatigue, allow yourself time to rest. Masking fatigue is real, and honoring your body's needs can help alleviate some of the stress. Think about those moments in your day when you could introduce breaks from masking. Think about it. How is it that what do you think you could do to create more of those safe spaces to recharge? So I want to go back, like I said. I said I was going to go back to the create a moment of rest. To whenever possible, to find small windows. Okay, I want to say something. To that point of find small windows to be you, to give permissions to be you. I'm not encouraging anyone to mask all the time, right? The whole point of my podcast and my website is to teach you to unmask. But it doesn't escape me. It does not escape me that we live in a world and in a society where we have to live with other people. For instance, if you're a therapist, you have to be able to listen to other people. You have to heal them. And if you're an autistic ADHDer and you have impulsivity, you cannot very well just impulsively interrupt them. So there's a point that you have to unmask that aspect of you, control your impulsivity, and be there for the other person. If you're a doctor, right? If you are a teacher, you have to be a functioning human being. So I guess what I'm trying to say with this managing the masking fatigue is that how to navigate your brain, your neurodivergence in society to be a functioning human being. Does that make sense? But with that being said, the whole point, or where I think we should all land, is that eventually, once you are able to navigate that part of the mask so that you can be productive, in the times that it's not needed, be your true, amazing, bright self. You don't have to be masking if you don't need to. And I wanted to make that very clear. I used to mask all the time, thinking that that's how I was going to be accepted. And at this point in my life, I genuinely, if you don't like me, then you're not part of my journey. And it comes at a cost, and I'm aware of that. But I prefer the cost than the alternative, because it was depleting me, extremely depleting me, and getting me in unhealthy relationships. That's a topic for another podcast. So going back to the tuning into your body's signals. Try to think about those moments. This week, I'm going to challenge you to do something. I'm going to challenge you to find at least one opportunity to reduce masking. Even if it's just a few minutes. Now, guys, like I said, it's a series. We're doing a series about masking. So my whole objective here is to eventually get you guys to a point where you can achieve the skills to learn how to unmask. So even if it's just for a few minutes, I'm going to challenge you to find at least one opportunity to reduce masking, even if it's just for a few minutes. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of tips of grounding exercises. Let's try a quick grounding exercise together. Okay? Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. As you breathe, remind yourself that you are enough just as you are. Repeat this exercise whenever you feel overwhelmed or drained by the effort of masking. So again, take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. As you are taking that breath, remind yourself that you are enough just as you are. Now let's do a little myth-busting moment. There's a misconception that masking isn't exhausting just because everyone masks to some degree. But I want to say something. For people that are neurodivergent, for neurodivergent individuals, masking is often an ongoing effort that goes far beyond occasional adjustments. It's an all-encompassing performance that can leave us drained and disconnected from ourselves. The dissociation, it is so real how you disconnect from your body. And I cannot stress enough, it is an ongoing battle because it's so ingrained in us. We've been doing it since we can't even remember how far along we've been doing this. So it is very important to know that, yes, this whole misconception that it isn't exhausting, it's not real. If you're listening and you feel that masking has taken a toll on your life, know that you're not alone. Many of us experience these struggles and still do. Share your thoughts or connect with others on our social media. You can check a community of people exactly like you at unmaskyourmind.com. And you might be surprised by how many people can relate to this topic. Thank you for joining me today for this deep dive into the emotional and physical toll of masking. And remember, it's okay to take breaks and honor your true amazing self. Next episode, we're going to be exploring how to find safe spaces and people to practice unmasking with. Until then, take care of yourself. And remember, embracing authenticity is a journey, not a destination.